Coming up tonight on Primetime Justice, a verdict in the lawsuit Daryl Young filed against Ralph's Grocery Company, charging that employees there beat him. We'll have a live report.
Because it's not about vindication of any kind of rights, ladies and gentlemen. It's about money, and that's it. There's no important right being litigated here. And I think, personally, again, it's offensive that they would call CourtTV to come in here to film this trial and make allegations and pollute the reputations of these people that stood up here, McConaughey and Barry and Aguirre and Ralph's Grocery Company, for their own personal financial gain.
A jury in Southern California spent 4 days behind closed doors trying to reach a decision in a case that posed a very difficult question. Was Daryl Young beaten because of the color of his skin? Or did Young provoke a confrontation, causing his own injuries? This is not a criminal case, but a civil lawsuit for money damages. Daryl Young sued Ralph's Grocery Store, claiming a security guard there falsely accused him of shoplifting and then, together with other store workers, beat him while yelling racial slurs. Well, the security guard, Jose Aguirre, denied it. He claimed the plaintiff took a swing at him, and he, Aguirre, was just defending himself. What's more, he accused Daryl Young of uttering racial slurs. Now, Young sued on 3 separate grounds: assault, false imprisonment, and intentionally inflicting emotional distress. And he asked for more than $1 million in damages.
Now, I concede that there's racism in this country. No kidding. In this state and in this city. No kidding. And I concede that this case is about color. It's about the color green, the color of money, and their attempts to extort it from Ralph's Grocery Company. And there is no other causal link of color other than the color of money in this case. And I think basically it's offensive, ladies and gentlemen, that they would try to capitalize on certain racial tensions in the community and in fact raise Rodney King as to show that somehow Daryl Young is like Rodney King.
Really a crescendo today as the defense, in a surprise move, calls back to the stand the plaintiff for questioning. And you could see a visibly agitated Daryl Young on the witness stand.
So you're suggesting that the police officer is lying because they didn't write down that you had blood on your forehead, right?
I don't know how they're lying. If they're lying, they're lying. I had blood on me.
Okay,
that was
so
a clear fact.
So just to reiterate here, it's your testimony that Eric McConaughey is a liar, correct?
Yes.
Dr. Page is a liar, correct?
Yes.
Dr. Imani is a liar, correct?
I guess so.
Jose Aguirre is a liar, correct?
I guess so, yes.
And Dale Barry is lying, correct?
Definitely a liar.
And the Los Angeles Police Department is lying, correct?
Yes.
Right, well, and you're the only one that's telling the truth, right?
That's
not
correct.
A fair statement, Your Honor.
That's exactly right.
Well, we heard Daryl Young say a moment ago that at least a half a dozen people are lying. He said they're, quote, all liars, end of quote. Well, the defense attorney certainly doesn't buy that, and now he tries to point out that perhaps this young man, the plaintiff, is inconsistent in his testimony with his own mother, who earlier in the trial took the witness stand.
Your mom told you not to mention that, correct? That's
correct.
What you... Okay. Well, your mom took the stand, and she said she never told you to lie under oath.
I can hear you. You're not that holler.
And she specifically said that she never told you not to omit the County USC Medical Center.
I don't understand your question. Omit. I don't understand.
Are you calling your mom a liar, Mr. Young?
I'm not. I'd like to hear the question rephrased.
So what is the significance about the dishonesty and not telling us the truth about Daryl Young? Well, I'll tell you, and the judge is going to instruct you on it. And it's common sense. If you believe that a witness is intentionally false in any part of their testimony, you can disregard their entire testimony. That is the law. And that's what I'm suggesting to you, ladies and gentlemen. A substantial amount of his testimony should be disregarded because he has not been honest with us.
And so the judge is having the jury brought in, and what they were arguing about, this case is being done in what's called, we're calling trifurcation, in 3 different stages. In the first stage of the case, the jury is to determine whether there was an intentional tort, what's called an intentional tort, and that would be the battery, the false imprisonment, or the intentional infliction of emotional distress. If they do find an intentional tort was committed against the plaintiff and they find compensatory damages, how much he would be compensated for his injuries. If they do find that, then they go to stage 2. If they do not find that, if they find for the defendant in the case, Ralph's Grocery, then the trial ends. Let's go back into the courtroom. We'll explain more of what happened here in just a moment.
Here's the verdict, as read by the clerk of the court.
In the case of Daryl Young versus Ralph's Grocery Company, case number BC 082435. Special verdict for battery. Did Ralph's employees commit intentional, unlawful, and harmful or offensive contact upon plaintiff's person? Answer, no. Dated September 13, 1994, foreperson. Special verdict for false imprisonment. Do you believe Ralph's employees believe they observed plaintiff enter the restroom with Visine and exit the restroom without Visine? Answer, yes. Did Ralph's employees detain plaintiff in front of the store prior to the physical struggle for a reasonable time for the purpose of investigation? Answer, yes. Dated September 16, 1994, foreperson. Special verdict for intentional infliction of emotional distress. Did Ralph's employees intentionally engage in outrageous and unprivileged conduct with the intent to cause plaintiff emotional distress or with reckless disregard of the probability of causing such emotional distress? Answer, no. Dated September 16, 1994, foreperson. Are these your verdicts, ladies and gentlemen?
Yes.
Thank you.
But that wasn't it for the confusion in the courtroom, Greg, because it wasn't clear that this case was over. Even though the jurors had said no to all 3 counts, plaintiff's attorney James Jordan still tried to argue to the judge that the jurors should be held over until a week from Monday, when this judge returned from her vacation, so they could pursue negligence charges against Ralph's Grocery Store. Here is what the defense attorney Gregory Stone had to say about that proposal.
Your Honor, if, as our last straw or thread to hang on to this case and run us through more testimony, they suggest that somehow you can negligently exceed your privilege. Makes no sense. If they exceeded their privilege, then they didn't have their privilege. The jury has ruled that they acted within their privilege and acted within the law. You don't, how could you, it makes no sense. And it's very hard to respond to that argument because it makes no sense. They're suggesting that they can somehow give him that extra kick. Well, then that means he didn't have the privilege. If he exceeded his privilege, he didn't have a privilege. And, you know, I'm not even going to suggest that I appreciate their efforts to hang on to this, because now it's becoming, with all due respect to the court, annoying. It's over, and I think everybody should go home, and I think this case should be wrapped up, and they've had their day in court, and their arguments are nonsensical. And on that, Your Honor, let my people go.
All right. Well, I presume you're waiting for my ruling, and my ruling is that the way the jury came out on these 3, on their 3 answers, does close the case. My recollection is that was what was agreed to, but in any matter, I don't see that they could come out any differently on the other issues. Okay? And we will release the jurors at this time. So would you please call them out?
The jury has ruled for Ralph's Grocery Store, and the defense attorney who was the winning defense attorney in this case, who represented Ralph's Grocery Store, Gregory Stone. Kristen Jeanette Myers is in Los Angeles with Mr. Stone. Kristen.
Mr. Stone, this is a big win. Is it unexpected?
It's first of all, I don't think it's a big win. It's kind of a bittersweet win. Obviously, I'm very pleased that the jury saw right through this case. I'm kind of sad for Daryl Young because of the problems that he has, and I'm sad for the system. Nobody really won here. The lawyers win. but nobody else really wins here. I mean, this clogged up the system for several weeks at several thousands of dollars a day. The jury spent a lot of time on it. My client, to defend this case, had to hire an expert witness. They had to hire me. They had all the court costs, a court reporter, and everything else. And, you know, I'm happy that we won and that Jose Aguirre was vindicated because he was very concerned about the allegations made against him. I'm glad that Ralph's name was vindicated, although somewhat tarnished by just having the allegations thrown at him. But like I said, you know, it's maybe I think our court system's great. I just think it's kind of sad that everybody had to go through this.